you specifically asked us to skip the preamble today, just drop the usual warm-up banter.
Right. No wasting time.
Exactly. Just get right to the core of the material. And honestly, I love that approach for this specific topic.
Oh, absolutely. Because what we're looking at today is, well, it's a story about the absolute exhaustion of having to perform for an audience.
Yeah, we are doing a complete, totally unvarnished deep dive into the romance novel Fever Dream by Elsie Silver.
And our mission here is to, totally deconstruct this book. We aren't just going to recount the plot.
No, definitely not.
We're going to tear out the drywall, really look at the underlying psychological architecture of the story.
Right, because there's this massive glaring clash between the highly manufactured, heavily surveilled world of reality television.
Yes, and the messy, undeniable gravity of genuine human connection.
Exactly. We're looking at the difference between that polished image we project to the world and the reality of who we are when the cameras are, well, actually turned off.
It's such a universal theme, even if we aren't all on TV.
Right, but before we get completely absorbed in that, I do need to put a quick but, very important flag in the ground for you listening.
Yeah, that's crucial.
The source material we're covering today does heavily involve a past trauma. Specifically, a scene involving involuntary drugging.
Yes. And it is really worth noting right up front that the author, Elsie Silver, actually consulted a clinical therapist during the writing process.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, she wanted to ensure this was handled with the the appropriate psychological weight.
That makes a lot of sense.
And we are going to be discussing this event analytically because, well, it forms the absolute bedrock of the trust between our two main characters.
You literally cannot understand their present-day dynamic without understanding how that past trauma, forged their connection.
Exactly. So keeping that foundational context in mind, let's step into the world of Emmett Bush.
Or, to be more accurate, Emmett Brandt.
Right. The real guy. So Emmett is a world-class professional bull rider competing on the WBRF circuit.
He is quite literally at the pinnacle of his highly dangerous profession. But the ultimate prize, a world championship, just keeps slipping right through his fingers.
And to really understand Emmett, we have to look past the glitz of the arena lights and, those giant belt buckles.
Yeah, because the reality of his situation is incredibly precarious.
Yeah.
His family farm, which is situated in this town called Emerald Lake, is facing absolute financial ruin.
It is bleeding money.
Yeah.
And we really need to pause and examine the mechanics of what it means to be a professional bull rider facing financial ruin.
Right, because it's not like the NFL or the NBA.
Exactly, because unlike a professional basketball player who, might sign a guaranteed multi-year contract worth tens of millions.
Yeah, totally different world.
Right, rodeo athletes operate in a totally different economic reality. They are essentially independent contractors.
Meaning if you don't ride, you don't get paid.
Precisely. And if you get injured, which, let's be real, when your job involves strapping yourself to a 2,000-pound animal bred to throw you off,
it's going to happen.
It is a statistical inevitability. And when it does, your income immediately drops to zero.
There's zero safety net. No, injured reserve list with full pay.
None. So the financial pressure is just immense. And the physical window for this career is brutally short.
Your body simply cannot take those impacts into your late 30s or 40s.
So Emmett is staring down the barrel of a terrifying reality. His physical prime is rapidly closing, and he needs a massive influx of cash right now to save his family's legacy.
And his standard avenue for making that money is literally breaking his body down.
Exactly. Which sets the stage perfectly for this devil's bargain.
Right. Enter Georgia. She's the head of publicity for the World Bull Riding Federation. And she doesn't approach him in some, plush boardroom.
No, she corners him in a locker room.
Right after a terrible, exhausting ride, when he's peeling off his gear and is just at his most vulnerable and frustrated.
And she pitches him once again on becoming the bachelor for a reality dating show called Romance Ranch.
Romance Ranch. Just the name.
It's so bad. But the leverage she uses is fascinating because it's just so incredibly targeted.
Yeah, she isn't offering him fame or exposure.
Yeah, no, he already has that, and he actually despises it.
Right.
She offers him a staggering $500,000 paycheck, coupled with a daily rental fee for his family's property in Emerald Lake, which will serve as the filming location.
It's the ultimate trap, because psychologically, Emmett absolutely loathes his public persona.
He really does.
The world knows him as Emmett Bush, this carefree, arrogant playboy. I mean, he actually refers to himself in the text as a man whore.
Yeah, he hates the brand that's been built around him.
But he looks at that $500,000 figure, he looks at his failing family farm, and he agrees to parade himself around on television.
This completely subverts the traditional reality TV star trope.
Oh, 100%.
Think about the cultural assumptions we make about people who go on dating shows.
We generally assume they're narcissists.
Exactly, or they're desperately seeking influencer status, or they just want a free vacation.
Right. But by establishing Emmett's motivation as pure, desperate family survival, the author really manipulates our empathy.
He isn't selling out of vanity. He is commodifying his own privacy and his own dignity to act as a human shield for his family's financial security.
It really makes you think about how far you would go to protect the people you love.
Definitely.
I mean, for you listening, think about it. Imagine having a PhD in astrophysics, right?
Yes.
A brilliant, serious mind, but your family's about to lose their home.
Okay, I like where this is going.
And suddenly, a circus comes to town and says, hey, we will pay off your entire mortgage and feed your family for life, but you have to put on oversized shoes, paint your face, and let people throw pies at you every day for 2 months.
Oh, man.
You take the chop, right? You put on the makeup. But internally, the cognitive dissonance of knowing how ridiculous and degrading the situation is, while having to smile through it, it would be agonizing.
That's a great analogy. Because at what point does the price tag force us to abandon our boundaries?
That is exactly the internal crisis Emmett is navigating. He starts the book literally thinking, even a man whore has to have some boundaries.
But $500,000 forcibly relocates that boundary line.
Yes, it does. And right into the epicenter of this highly produced, soul-crushing circus walks our heroine, Julia Silva.
Julia is fascinating because she is the absolute antithesis of the reality TV world she's working in.
Yeah, she is fresh out of undergrad, and she's working as the location manager for Romance Ranch.
Let's look at that job title for a second. A location manager is fundamentally a problem solver, grounded in the physical reality of a space.
Right. They deal with permits, power grids, logistics, weather.
All the hard, unyielding facts of a filming environment. She isn't there because she cares about manufacturing fake romance.
Well, not at all.
She is there grinding away to build her resume. Her ultimate goal is to get to Hollywood, to work on major motion pictures, and eventually direct.
She is hyper-focused, ambitious, and deeply practical.
But there is a massive immediate complication.
Oh, a huge one. Julia is the younger sister of Theo Silva, who just so happens to be Emmett's fiercest rival on the bull riding circuit.
So, if we look at this purely on paper, they are natural enemies.
Right. He's the on-camera talent. She's the behind-the-scenes crew.
He's a Brandt, she's a Silva.
He's universally known as this arrogant, careless playboy, and she is a laser-focused professional trying to keep her head down and do her job.
On paper, yes. But human dynamics rarely respect what's written on paper.
Exactly.
The narrative makes a very sharp pivot here. The moment Emmett and Julia are in the same room on the set of Romance Ranch, all of those superficial categories completely evaporate.
The author describes this intense, almost suffocating tension between them.
Yeah, all the air just gets sucked out of the room.
It isn't the tension of two people who hate each other. It's the tension of two people who know something no one else does.
And to explain why that tension exists, the story pulls us completely out of the reality TV setting and flashes back 2 years.
We have to go back to the dirt to understand the present.
2 years prior, Julia is on a cruise ship. She's there with her mom, desperately trying to decompress.
Right. She just finished her exhausting undergrad degree, and she's staring down the barrel of a grueling master's program.
She is running on fumes, just looking for a moment of peace by the pool.
It's in this moment of exhaustion and drop defensive that she gets targeted. She is involuntarily drugged by a man the text chillingly refers to as a vampire guy.
The onset of the drug is rapid and brutal. She immediately begins losing cognitive awareness, and crucially, she loses control of her own physical body.
And this is where Emmett enters the picture, and where his public persona is completely dismantled for the reader.
He's also on this cruise, and he notices that something is horribly wrong.
Yeah, and he doesn't go find a security guard. He doesn't turn a blind eye. He physically intervenes.
He walks right up to the guy, knees him squarely in the groin, takes the guy's baggie of pills, and just dumps them all over the deck.
I love that. And then he scoops up a semi-conscious Julia.
But the most important detail in this entire sequence is the brief exchange they have right as he picks her up.
Yeah, Julia manages to faintly whisper to him, "No doctor, just get me out."
And he listens.
Right.
He is completely terrified. He's holding dead weight. He doesn't know what she's been given. He's scared for her life, but he honors her agency in a moment where it has been completely stripped away by someone else.
That's huge. He doesn't take her to the medical bay. He takes her to his own room to protect her privacy.
And we really need to unpack the psychology of the aftermath in that hotel room because it completely recontextualizes who Emmett is.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly intimate scenario, but it is entirely strictly non-sexual.
Right. She starts throwing up.
Hmm.
And Emmett, this supposed hotshot playboy, takes her white sarong into the bathroom and literally washes her vomit out of the fabric in the sink with his bare hands.
Wow.
Julia later remembered the distinct smell of his spicy ginger body wash from that moment.
And then he carefully undoes her tight hair bun so she can sleep more comfortably.
Yeah, he does this because he remembers a random fact his sister told him about tight hair ties being bad for your roots.
It's an act of profound, tender caretaking, and then he refuses to sleep.
He takes the chair furthest away from the bed, sits down, and stays awake the entire night.
He just watches the rise and fall of her chest to ensure she doesn't stop breathing. He acts as a literal sentinel.
It's so intense, but when Julia finally wakes up the next day, the drug has left her completely disoriented.
She's vulnerable, she's confused about the fragmented memories of the night, and her instinct is flight.
She essentially bolts from the room. She distances herself entirely, not really knowing who he is outside of the fact that he was the stranger who saved her.
But wait, let's look at Emmett's reaction to her leaving. Or rather, his lack of reaction in the broader world.
Yes. Let me stop right here, because this is the exact thing that challenges everything we're told about his public image.
Right.
If we believe the PR narrative that Emmett Bush is an arrogant, attention-seeking playboy who thrives on the spotlight, why on earth does he keep this a secret?
Exactly.
Think about the narrative goldmine this is for a sports publicist. Bad boy bull rider saves innocent woman from predator. That is the kind of story that gets you on national morning shows.
Oh, everywhere.
Why did he sit on this for 2 years?
That contradiction is the key to unlocking his character. If we apply the sociologist Irving Goffman's theory of the presentation of self in everyday life, we can see exactly what's happening.
Okay, break that down for us.
Goffman talks about front stage behavior versus backstage behavior. Emmett Bush, the playboy, is pure front stage behavior.
It's a performance designed to keep the audience entertained.
Yes, and more importantly, to keep them at a distance. It's armor.
And saving Julia was entirely backstage.
Exactly. Using that traumatic, terrifying night as a PR stunt would mean dragging his backstage reality, his deeply protective, vulnerable core, onto the front stage.
It would mean commodifying Julia's trauma for his own benefit.
Right. By keeping it a complete secret, he proves that his altruism wasn't performative. It was genuine.
Which makes the reality show he's forced onto later so incredibly ironic.
Oh, beyond ironic.
The network is demanding he perform a fake version of romance for the cameras when he already demonstrated the most profound version of love, protecting someone at his own expense without demanding any credit, completely off camera.
This flashback is the structural foundation of the entire novel. It establishes an unbreakable bedrock of trust.
Because when Julia's defenses were completely obliterated, when she was at her absolute most vulnerable, Emmett didn't take a single liberty.
No, he restored her agency. That invisible bond completely short-circuits the superficial Brandt versus Silva or talent versus crew labels they're wearing in the present day.
So we take that history, that deeply traumatic, incredibly intimate, shared secret, and we drop these two people right into the middle of the most artificial environment on Earth, a reality dating show.
The juxtaposition is brilliant. The sheer absurdity of Romance Ranch serves as this massive neon-lit foil to their genuine connection.
It really does.
The show's producers are trying to force a cowboy aesthetic onto a standard dating show format, which results in these hilariously contrived scenarios.
Like the eliminations.
Yes. For instance, during the elimination ceremonies, Emmett doesn't hand out roses, he has to hand out bolo ties.
Bolo ties. Just visualize the sheer humiliation of this. You have a world-class athlete standing next to some fake gnarled tree stumps surrounded by electric candles, actively gritting his teeth, while the host waxes poetic about the journey to find love on the ranch.
It's so cringeworthy.
And Emmett has to look a contestant dead in the eye, a woman who maybe just spent their entire date explaining her skincare routine to him. and solemnly hand her a piece of leather string.
A leather string. He is dying inside.
Completely.
It's deeply dehumanizing. He is actively trading away his dignity piece by piece to secure that $500,000 check for his family.
He feels completely alienated from the process. But then, just out of the corner of his eye, just outside the glare of the production lights, is Julia.
And they are just irresistibly drawn to each other like magnets.
In this sea of fake smiles and scripted conversations, they're the only two real things.
So they start finding ways to sneak around the massive surveillance apparatus of the show.
They share secret coffees late at night at a local diner. They steal moments in her condo, making out away from the microphones.
Let's talk about why those stolen moments feel so vital to them.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Think about how exhausting it is when you have to put on your customer service voice or your professional persona at work for 8 hours.
We've all been there.
You come home, shut the door, and just collapse into your real self. Now imagine having to maintain that performance 24 hours a day, knowing that if you drop the mask, your family loses their farm.
It would be suffocating. Finding Julia in that environment is like, well, it's like trying to navigate a funhouse mirror maze for weeks on end.
I like that.
Everywhere you look, you see these distorted, exaggerated, fake reflections of reality. You start to feel insane. And then suddenly, you turn a corner and find a clear pane of glass looking out into the real world. You don't just appreciate the view, you press your face against the glass because it's the only thing keeping you tethered to sanity.
That is a perfect way to conceptualize it. She is his tether. And during one of these stolen, hidden moments, Emmett makes a confession to Julia that essentially serves as the thesis statement for his entire existence.
He looks at her and says, Emmett Bush is a coping mechanism. Emmett Brandt, well, that's who I'll always be.
That one line completely recontextualizes the title of the book, Fever Dream.
Right.
The reality show, the Playboy persona, the WBRF fame that is the fever dream. It's a hallucination he has to endure.
And Emmett Brandt, the man who washed the vomit out of her clothing with his bare hands, the man trying to save his family's farm, that is the waking reality.
And this creates a phenomenal layer of dramatic irony for us as the audience.
Because you have an entire production crew running around with boom mics and lighting rigs, desperately trying to contrive a love story.
Right. They are writing scripts, manipulating lighting, forcing awkward conversations, completely oblivious to the fact that an actual, profound, life-altering romance is happening quite literally right behind their backs.
The real story is entirely in the shadows.
But when you have a secret that intense, burning that hot, it is nearly impossible to keep it hidden in an environment that is explicitly designed to monitor human behavior.
A reality TV set is fundamentally a surveillance state. And this is where the conflict really escalates, because we have to introduce the villain of our story.
Oh yes, enter Richard Wadsworth, the show's senior producer.
Or, as the characters far more accurately refer to him, Dick Wad.
A very earned nickname. Richard is the absolute embodiment of the predatory, unethical side of the entertainment industry.
He doesn't view the contestants or the crew as human beings, right?
No, he views them purely as raw material to be mined for content and ratings. And he inevitably discovers Emmett and Julia's secret.
But it's how he discovers it that shifts the story from a romantic comedy into something much darker.
Richard has placed an unauthorized, hidden camera inside Emmett's private sleeping quarters.
That is so invasive. Let's be very clear about the mechanics of this for you listening. This isn't a camera in a common area where contestants know they're being filmed.
No, this is a hidden camera in a private cottage where a person has a reasonable legal expectation of privacy.
And he uses this camera to capture grainy photos of Julia sneaking out of Emmett's place in the early hours of the morning.
And Richard doesn't just call them into his office to scold them about fraternization.
No, he weaponizes the footage. He traps Emmett with a brutal ultimatum.
Richard tells Emmett that the show is boring, the ratings are flat. He demands that Emmett start producing PG-13 rated sexual activity and manufacture explosive drama with a specific contestant named Evelyn.
He needs a villain and a scandalous showmance.
And the blackmail is incredibly precise. If Emmett refuses to play the part, Richard threatens to leak those photos of Julia to the press.
But he won't just leak the photos. He will attach a narrative to them.
Right.
He will spin a story that Julia, a young, ambitious location manager, is sleeping with the show's star talent to climb the industry ladder.
Which would completely obliterate her reputation before her career even begins.
Hollywood is built on perception, and Richard is threatening to permanently brand her with a scarlet letter.
Richard is a master manipulator because he correctly diagnoses Emmett's psychological weakness.
Yeah, Richard knows that threatening Emmett's own reputation wouldn't work.
As we established, Emmett Bursch is just a coping mechanism. Emmett doesn't care if the Playboy image gets tarnished.
But Richard realizes that Emmett's core driving force is protection.
Yes, he protected his family by taking the job, and he protected Julia on the cruise ship. Richard takes that noble, protective instinct and turns it into a weapon against him.
So Emmett makes an agonizing choice. To protect Julia's dream of working in Hollywood, he complies with the blackmail.
He decides to play the role Richard wants him to play.
He invites Evelyn, the contestant, into his cabin late at night to give the hidden cameras exactly what they want.
But here's where the tragedy of the miscommunication unfolds. Emmett assumes he can just shoulder this burden alone, suffer through the fake encounter, and keep Julia safe.
But Julia, in her capacity as location manager, has access to the production monitors.
She sees the grainy night vision security footage of Evelyn arriving at Emmett's cabin.
But it's not just the visual, it's the audio that breaks her.
Yeah.
She watches the monitor and hears Evelyn say, "I told you I'd be able to sneak off." And then she hears Emmett reply in this low, convincing voice, "Good girl, I've been dreaming of this."
Ugh. The cognitive dissonance she experiences in that moment is violent. Think about the psychological whiplash.
It's massive.
The man she trusts more than anyone else in the world, the man who stayed awake all night just to make sure she was breathing 2 years ago,
The man she just shared all these incredibly grounded, authentic moments with off-camera.
is now on a monitor, seemingly betraying her with zero hesitation.
Her physical reaction mirrors that cognitive shock. She's so viscerally sickened by the betrayal that she stumbles outside the production trailer and literally vomits in the grass.
It's a dark, tragic mirroring of the cruise ship incident.
Right. On the ship, he was the cure to her physical sickness. Here, he is the direct cause of it.
This brings up a massive question about the protective hero archetype that we see so often in these stories.
Yeah, I have to wonder about Emmett's decision-making process here. By lying to her to protect her career, doesn't he end up inflicting vastly more psychological trauma than if he had just sat her down, explained Richard's blackmail, and let her decide how to handle the threat to her own reputation?
That is the exact fatal flaw of his character. Emmett's instinct to shield the people he loves crosses the line into paternalism.
Interesting. Say more about that.
By deciding to handle the blackmail on his own, he completely strips Julia of her agency. He takes away her right to choose her own priorities.
He calculates that the pain of his apparent betrayal will be less damaging to her than the destruction of her career.
But he gets the math completely wrong.
Entirely wrong. He assumes her professional ambition is her highest priority, but he underestimates how deeply she values their authentic connection.
By curating a false reality to protect her, Emmett ironically acts exactly like the manipulative reality TV producer he despises.
Oh, wow.
He creates a fake narrative and forces her to live in it.
It is such a devastating miscalculation. He throws himself on the sword, but he inadvertently stabs her in the heart on the way down.
And this is the catalyst that pushes the entire situation past the boiling point.
Emmett sees the aftermath of his lie. He sees the absolute disgust and distance in Julia's eyes, and he realizes that losing her is his actual worst nightmare.
He literally verbalizes this realization. He realizes that the true nightmare isn't losing the farm or losing his career.
The nightmare is finally finding the one person who sees past the mask, the one person who knows you fundamentally and feels like home, and then driving them away.
The $500,000, the farm, the show, none of it matters if he loses his tether to reality.
So he snaps. He decides to burn it all down. He marches up to Richard's dingy production office, fully intending to blow up the entire show, expose the blackmail, and tell him to go to hell.
He doesn't even knock. He rips the door open, skipping the bottom step in his rage.
And he catches Richard in an incredibly compromising and grotesque position. Richard is having sex with Evelyn right on his office desk.
It is a shocking image, but it really underscores the systemic rot of the environment they're in.
It perfectly illustrates the cycle of exploitation.
Yeah, because Evelyn wasn't sleeping with Richard out of genuine desire. She mistakenly believed that if she gave him what he wanted, he would secure her a real Hollywood audition.
She was being manipulated with false promises of career advancement, just as Emmett was being manipulated with threats of career destruction.
Everyone in Richard's orbit is simply a piece on a chessboard to be moved or sacrificed.
But interestingly, catching Richard in the act isn't actually what resolves the plot.
No, it's not.
The resolution comes from a much more grounded, practical place, legal maneuvering.
While all of this emotional chaos was happening, Emmett had quietly reached out to a contract lawyer named Maxwell.
Right. He wanted Maxwell to look into the legality of that hidden camera in his cottage.
And this is where the mechanics of reality TV production come crashing into actual federal law.
Maxwell proves that Richard's actions go far beyond sleazy reality TV tactics.
Placing an unauthorized hidden camera in an area where an employee has a reasonable expectation of privacy, like a bedroom or a private cottage, is a massive breach of contract.
It's a severe violation of workplace safety standards, and it frankly borders on criminal wiretapping and voyeurism.
You cannot just write a standard NDA that allows you to secretly film people in their underwear without their explicit consent.
The law doesn't allow that level of exploitation, even on a reality show.
Exactly. When Maxwell presents this legal reality to the network executives, their reaction is instantaneous.
They don't try to fight it or cover it up.
As the book perfectly describes it, they fold like origami.
The panic is palpable. They immediately fire Richard. His career in television is completely incinerated. We actually find out later that he ends up working retail at a men's clothing store.
The network entirely scraps Romance Ranch. The footage is buried and will never air.
But because the network was the party in breach of contract due to Richard's illegal actions, Emmett and his family still get to keep the full $500,000 location fee.
And Julia, who was an innocent party caught in the crossfire, is given her full pay and a glowing professional recommendation from the network, protecting her future career in Hollywood.
It is the ultimate fumigation of a toxic environment. The fake AstroTurf world of the reality show is violently ripped up, exposing the bare dirt underneath.
And once that manufactured pressure cooker is destroyed, once the cameras are gone and the blackmail is lifted, Emmett and Julia's authentic connection is finally allowed to exist out in the open air.
Which perfectly sets up the climax of the narrative. The resolution of their romance doesn't happen on a soundstage or a manufactured date.
It happens in the dirt of an actual rodeo arena.
Free from the crushing weight of the show, Emmett returns to his actual reality. He goes to compete in the final event of the WBRF Championship.
This is the moment he has been bleeding for his entire life.
This is the ride that will secure his legacy, win him the world title, and allow him to retire on top.
And he executes it flawlessly. He rides his final bull and scores a massive 91.5, definitively winning the world title.
Let's talk about the symbolism of that final ride. Think about what a bull ride actually is.
Yeah, it's intense.
You are strapped to an incredibly powerful, wildly unpredictable, dangerous force that is actively trying to destroy you. You are getting violently thrown around, taking hits, barely hanging on, just praying to survive until the 8-second buzzer sounds.
It is the perfect physical metaphor for the emotional chaos he has endured over the last few weeks.
He has been strapped to the unpredictable danger of the reality show, battered by the blackmail and terrified of losing Julia.
He has just been holding on for dear life.
But then the buzzer sounds. The ride is over. He survives.
And here is where we get the cinematic, emotional payoff of the entire book.
He just scored a 91.5. He just won the world championship. Any other rider would be throwing their cowboy hat into the rafters, climbing the fences, soaking in the roar of the crowd, playing to the cameras.
But Emmett, he doesn't move a muscle to celebrate.
He completely ignores the scoreboard. He ignores the crowd.
He immediately turns his back on the glory and frantically starts scanning the stands, desperately looking for Julia.
Because the championship, the belt buckle, the public adulation, none of it is the real prize anymore.
The front stage performance of the athlete is completely irrelevant to him now.
Julia sees him searching for her. She ducks through the heavy metal fencing of the arena, running out into the dirt, and they embrace right there in the center of the ring.
And in that moment, for Emmett, the thousands of screaming fans just fade into white noise.
It is absolute pure catharsis. The masks have been entirely discarded.
Emmett Bush, the playboy, the reality star, the coping mechanism, is officially retired.
The man standing in the dirt of the arena holding the woman he loves is entirely Emmett Brand.
Which brings us to the epilogue, wrapping up the story and our analysis.
The narrative fast-forwards a few months to Christmas.
Yeah.
And the setting is the exact polar opposite of the hot, sticky, artificial, heavily lit summer on the set of Romance Ranch.
It is snowing. The world is quiet and insulated.
Emmett is no longer running on the circuit. He is no longer partying or performing for an audience.
He is grounded. He is at his family's farmhouse in Emerald Lake, the very home he sacrificed his dignity to save.
The scene is incredibly intimate. The rest of the family has gone up to bed, and Emmett and Julia are just lingering in the warm, quiet glow of the living room, slow dancing together by a crackling fire.
In the safety of that authentic space, he proposes to her.
He drops to his knee, pulls out a diamond ring, and asks her to be a Brant forever.
And as he asks her, he realizes something profound. For the first time in his entire life, he isn't terrified of falling in love.
He doesn't have that creeping fear of losing her because he knows that their foundation wasn't built on a reality show set or a PR stunt.
It was built in the darkest, most vulnerable hours of the night on that cruise ship, and it was forged in the fire of surviving the reality TV wreckage.
Their connection is unshakable.
If we pull back and synthesize everything we've unpacked today, The Beating Heart of Fever Dream is an exploration of the stark, undeniable difference between the superficial avatars we construct for the public and the raw, vulnerable truth of who we really are behind closed doors.
We all have an Emmett Bush that we project to the world. We all curate an image for our coworkers, for social media, for acquaintances.
It's a coping mechanism. It's a shield designed to protect us from judgment and keep people at a safe distance.
But the author is arguing that true fulfillment, genuine connection, is completely impossible as long as we insist on wearing the armor.
You cannot be truly loved if you only allow people to interact with your avatar.
You have to be willing to drop the front stage performance and invite someone into the backstage. You have to let them see Emmett Brant.
You have to be willing to let someone see the mess. You have to let them see you when you are exhausted, when you are terrified, when you are making mistakes.
Because a highly curated, heavily edited version of yourself might successfully survive in the world, but it will never truly connect with another human being.
Survival requires the mask. Connection requires removing it.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over long after you finish listening today.
Think about your own daily interactions.
If your life was being documented by a camera crew 24/7 starting right now, would the producers be capturing the real you or just the narrative you're trying to sell?
How much of your own reality are you actively producing, editing, and filtering for the people around you?
And ultimately, in a world that is obsessed with manicured lawns, perfect optics, and flawless social media feeds, who is the one person you actually let step off the AstroTurf into the dirt to see your unedited footage?